gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's June the 29th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day presented by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And Matt, yesterday the time was now to welcome a new commitment. And we've been talking about this guy for a very, very, very long time. And Nathaniel Ray Joseph, in sequential order, decommitted from Clemson, waited a few days just to create a little bit of drama, as we've been predicting and really everyone's known. He finally commits to the Miami Hurricanes. Big pickup at the wide receiver position to coincide with Jaden Rashada's commitment at the quarterback position. Things are happening fast, Matt, for the Miami Hurricanes. Mr. Positivity over here wins again. I tried to tell you. I tried to tell everybody the Canes are coming in the month of July, and really, I mean the month of June and July, and it's happening right before our very eyes here, and I'm expecting many more big things here before this week is out, Matt, and recruiting is in overdrive.
Yeah, the recruiting effort is incredible, and there was never any doubting that Mario and his staff were great recruiters. It was just, would kids come to a program that struggled for 20 years, that hasn't produced NFL talent? Will they trust the staff? And you're starting to see a little bit of a snowball effect. You know, these student athletes are starting to trust the staff and believe in what they're doing. And now all Miami's got to do, land a few more we think they're going to get through July, and then have a great season, grab all the local kids, and bam, you're rolling, you know, because then it really does become a snowball. Once you put one stack another class, then it's just a snowball, you know. So everything's looking great right now. You know, they just got to keep it going.
Ray Joseph, he's a small receiver, but the kid is a baller, man. It's like you watch him, he's explosive, he's quick out of his cuts, wants to win every play. He is set up perfectly to have a great career at Miami. He just has to keep his head on his shoulders, keep working hard. They're clearly going to have the arm talent in the program for the wide receivers to capitalize on. And the Miami passing game, everything's looking very bullish right now. And so, great decision by Ray. I think if everything had been normal, this would have been over long ago. The former staff, for some reason, did not recruit him, but the new staff came in and did. And Ray is now a clear-cut, surefire, solid Miami commitment. And congratulations to him. I'm sure he's going to get a nice NIL deal as part of the equation down the road, of course. But everything's good for Ray and for the Canes. All right, Matt, let me shift gears here. And this morning, we're making a huge announcement. And you're going to see why when you start to see the content. We are announcing that iconic broadcaster Roy Firestone, a Miami grad, he was on ESPN for 24 years, won 7 Emmy Awards for his talents as an interviewer, is going to be collaborating with CaneSport on a series of interviews that we hope will extend many years with the biggest names in Miami Hurricanes history. And we launched the series this Friday with national championship and Super Bowl winning coach Jimmy Johnson. And it's a 2-parter. We'll have part 1 on Friday. We'll have part 2 next Tuesday. And I can tell you that, I've obviously been closely involved with it. I've seen the finished product of those 2 parts. And it is just scintillating viewing, everybody. Make sure that you carve out some time in your schedule over the weekend to watch part 1 with Jimmy Johnson and then part 2 next week. It's Jimmy Johnson like you've never seen before, talking candid about some of the greatest moments in his life, some of the most difficult moments in his life, his Miami Hurricane years, what it was like in 1984 when he was forced to inherit a coaching staff that he didn't have a relationship and how the whole thing fell apart. What it was like to lose to Penn State, all the highs, the lows, the great win over Oklahoma with Brian Bosworth and the way the players behaved that day and what his opinions were of it and how he managed it. And I'm telling you, this is an amazingly good interview, and I hope everybody enjoys it. And then in the big picture, the whole series with Roy Firestone is going to give you an inside look in a very powerful way at some amazing stories. Jim Kelly fighting his cancer battle all these years. That's going to be an amazing, amazing show. Mark Richt talking about how he thought he was about to die when he got sick right after resigning from the Miami head coaching job. I mean, just amazing, amazing stuff is going to be upcoming in this series. We're so excited about it. I hope my enthusiasm is bubbling over, because this is something I'm really excited about, because one of the things that we're really aiming to do here as we move forward with CaneSport.com is bring you guys what I call next gen content. I'm working really hard. Matt will back me up on this, to try to identify ways that we can continue to make this website better and bring you guys differentiating content, stuff that you don't see every day on all the various websites around the internet. And we are just going to keep pushing the envelope in that regard and try to accomplish that for all of you that join us every single day. And we appreciate you guys more than you can imagine. And just want you to know, we're over on this side of the screen. We're working hard for you guys, and you're going to see it in the coming days and weeks as we continue to improve CaneSport.com. All right, Matt, let's talk about another exciting thing here. And the ACC announced a new schedule format yesterday, which is very, very interesting. And the bizarre thing is, so they're picking 3 opponents that you're going to play every single year, the same 3 teams every single year. And they took Miami, a team from the Coastal Division of the ACC, and they said, they've played those teams enough. We want to shake it up. So Miami will still play Florida State every year. That was an obvious. But the other common opponent that they're going to play every single season, at least in the near term, is Louisville and Boston College. Interesting choice there, Matt. And then they're going to rotate all the other teams in the conference to where in a 4-year period, every team will play each team twice, home and away. Matt, I love this. I think it's great. The only thing I don't love is the end of the year where like they pick 2 teams and you might end up with rematches and stuff. Hard to say how that's going to work out. I'm not a huge fan of the way the end of the year is going to go in the ACC. But all in all, I think, would you agree that this is a move forward for the conference?
A move forward. I don't know if I'd really term it like that, but I think it lets the 2 best teams play at the end, whether it's a rematch or not. I think that's fair. I don't think it's great for the conference in the sense that fairly early on in the year, a team that has 2 losses will be out of it. In the past, if you're in a division, you have 2 losses, you still got a chance. We've seen in the past there's been 3 or 4 teams up until the last week of the season that you could mathematically say, hey, it's still possible. If this happens and that happens and that happens, that will not be the case anymore. If Miami loses 2 ACC games.
Whoop, I didn't mean to do that. It was an accident.
I wanted Roy Firestone's job. I didn't get it. Apparently, he still talks over me also now. So, but if Miami or any team loses 2 games early on in the ACC season, these players are going to probably not be too happy to play the rest of their season with a high level of energy. It's going to be very deflating for any of these teams that lose 2 ACC games in their first 4 ACC matchups.
It's over.
Yeah, it's over for them.
And in the past, you could lose 2 games and still win your division.
Correct. In the past, you could go 2-2 to start in the division and sweep the rest and still get there. Anyway, with that said, It's kind of funny. I think the ACC was sending us a little message here. I mean, it's two former Big East teams, at some point, right? Both those teams were in the Big East. Am I remembering correctly from 1,000 years ago, Gary, or not?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like they formed a mini Big East for us. I love the Big East, except for Florida State, obviously. But I mean, Louisville and Boston College are the two they picked. That's what I mean, not FSU, obviously. So anyway, look, I got no problem with the best teams playing at the end of the year. That's the way it should be. That's the way they did it now. But it's going to be difficult for the 8 teams that just aren't going to be in it in November. That's just math. That's just math.
Yeah. It was funny, you mentioned FSU. Boy, did they get the raw deal. They get Clemson every year, right? But they've always played Clemson every year, so I guess it's kind of similar to. But I thought it was interesting. And I'm going to tell you why I think they did that, Matt. It's important for the ACC. They got to try to get good TV games, and there's just not a lot of high-profile marquee teams in this conference. Let's be honest. And if they're going to get more money out of ESPN ever, and they need to stay up to speed with the SEC, the Big 12, Pac-12, these teams that are getting decent TV deals, the conferences rather getting decent TV deals, they need to create good TV games. And so you can't just give Miami and Clemson and Florida State or whatever easy schedules. Now, Miami, with the common opponent of Louisville and Boston College, I think is getting very favorable treatment by the conference for a change. So that's going to be interesting to watch. So what does this mean? This is what it means. 2023, Miami's conference opponents are going to be Clemson, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Virginia, Boston College, FSU, North Carolina, and North Carolina State. And then they'll also play Texas A&M at home as part of the out-of-conference schedule. 2024, the Canes will play BC, Duke, FSU, Pitt, Clemson, Louisville, Syracuse, Wake Forest, with non-conference games that year against Florida and Notre Dame. So 2024 is going to be an interesting season because of those two out-of-conference marquee games, plus playing Clemson. I mean, you're talking about Clemson, Florida, Notre Dame in the 2024 season. That's going to be very interesting. 2025, the Canes will be playing Louisville, North Carolina, NC State, Virginia Tech, Boston College, FSU, Georgia Tech, and Virginia. A little more manageable there, with Notre Dame and Florida again as out of conference opponents. So those are good games. In 2026, you get BC, FSU, Syracuse, Wake Forest, Duke, Louisville, Pitt, Virginia Tech. Again, a manageable conference schedule. And that year, you got BYU and South Carolina as your out-of-conference game. That's a little boring. I'm surprised that they scheduled those two in the same year, BYU and South Carolina. Bad job by Blake James on that one. But for the most part, Matt, I think you got to feel good about the schedule and what's coming ahead for the Hurricanes. They just got to keep getting better and better and better, and I think they will. And I like the new format, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have that much to add other than what I said before, which is this is how all these conferences are going to be now. The NCAA removed the rule that you had to have divisions, and the top team in each division plays for the conference championship. And I think it was the right move, because it's just very upsetting. Think about it from a Miami fan perspective, right? Let's just pretend that Miami and Clemson were in the same division, and that Clemson had one loss to some other team, and Miami had one loss to Clemson, and that was it. And on the other side of the bracket, there's teams with 2 or 3 losses that are advancing because that team finished first in that division. That's not right. So this is the fairest way to do it.
All right, got a couple more stories we want to talk about today, but first let's hear from our friends at LifeWallet.
I will be your shield in the fiercest battle. I'll defend you.
Yeah.
Hey, my name is Cleveland Reed, and I play offensive line, and my job is to protect. I protect my family with LifeWallet. How about you?
Of course, I got Life Wallet. It's the best way to protect my family.
Long as we go together, we'll die, we'll never be a light. Couldn't let the darkness try you ever. Truth in my word, you I lie to never.
To protect you and your family, get Life Wallet now.
Life Wallet. Saving time, saving lives.
Couple more recruiting stories that we have on the website today. We caught up with tight end Jackson Carver for his take on Miami likely taking 3 tight ends in this class, and also told us something a little funny about the first group text that he saw Jaden Rashada send out. So let's talk about the text first. What did Jaden say in that first text, Matt?
He said, "We're going to win a natty."
A natty. That's what he told all his future teammates. Well, listen, I mean, he should have that kind of confidence coming in. I mean, why not? I mean, he's an elite passer. They're loading up on talent around him. And, hey, he should feel good. Now, the real interesting thing, obviously, when the subject is Jackson Carver, is this concept of Miami taking 3 tight ends in the class. And right now it's looking like they are going to take 3 tight ends. Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure all 3 will stick. And I have a feeling in my mind which one's not going to stick, but I'm not going to say it because I don't want to put ideas, obviously, in the kid's head. I think Riley Williams on Friday is going to commit to Miami, Matt. And Jackson Carver, well, I guess I'm going to kind of give it away a little bit here, but Jackson Carver doesn't seem all that bothered by the competition. You know, what's going on. He's confident in his own abilities, as he should be. He's a 6'6", 220-pounder, very impressive on tape. We actually showed the tape, I think it was last week. And Jackson Carver doesn't seem all that bothered by this glut of tight ends on the team.
None of them do. I reached out to Reed McKeska also. He says he's all good with it. You know, he's not even thinking about recruiting anymore. He's told other programs, he's done with recruiting. He wants to focus on the high school season. But let's face it, these are all 3 of them had major offers. And if push comes to shove and they decide to take some visits in the fall, it wouldn't shock me for any of them. That's the risk sometimes when you have quote unquote too many end quote players at a certain position. You don't know. Even with Emory Williams, he can say all the right things, but at the end of the day, Jake Garcia said all the right things at USC also for a while, and he left when they took 2 other quarterbacks at that point. Yeah. So, who's the odd man out? I hope that at the end of the day, if only 2 of them stay, it's the 2 that Stephen Field maybe has an incrementally higher than the third, because I think he loves them all. That's why he took all of them. They can all be tremendous playmakers. This is probably the most depth and talent in a tight end class. I can't remember ever Miami having 3 tight ends of this caliber in a class ever.
I mean, what a job of recruiting by Stephen Field. You know what the biggest positive of all this is, Matt? Stephen Field now gets to focus on help other positions recruit, because he is just tearing it up so far in this cycle. I mean, these are 3 really good tight ends. I mean, tight ends don't always get the respect they deserve. These are 3 really good tight ends. And what I do think is going to happen, like Matt said, there's 6 months to signing day, and everybody wanted these guys. We're in the NIL world and everything else. And, you hope that all 3 stick with their commitments and come and make that just an amazing position. And that then, whether it's Josh Gaddis or a future offensive coordinator, they can put in an offense that exploits the talents of all of them. And I think they will, starting in 2024. And they've also got several tight ends this year. They got 3 tight ends this year that they'll want to do the same thing with. So really, it'll be 3 tight end usage packages and stuff that they will put into the offense this year that will live on for the next 3 or 4 years because of the caliber of talent that they're going to have in the tight end room. So, we'll see what happens. I mean, they're in great shape now, obviously, and only time will tell if all three are still on the board in December. But right now, this is an epic tight end class. Congratulations, Stephen Field. We are madly impressed at the recruiting job that you are doing so far this year.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, he asked me to be the 4th tight end in the class. Like, anybody that wants to be in this class that's a tight end, bam, you're welcome in the class. Come on in.
I want him to go. You know what I in all seriousness, you know what I would love to see Steve Field do now? I'd love to see him go jump over to the other side of the ball and help out Charlie Strong a little bit recruiting linebackers.
Listen, I know you love to harp on this whole thing with any coach can listen.
They're not in as good a shape at linebackers they are at almost every other position, Matt. Let's be honest. I'm not ripping on Charlie Strong. God, the guy's been a head coach for the last 20 years or whatever, but they are not that strong right now at linebacker. And I would throw reinforcements in that direction if I were Mario Cristobal.
The only way that Stephen Field can help Charlie Strong is to do what they do in those movies, right? Where some guy's going on a date and he's so nervous, doesn't know what to say. So he puts a little earpiece in and his friend tells him what to say to the date. Because at the end of the day, a recruit wants a relationship with his position coach, not with some guy on the other side of the ball, Gary. I'm sorry.
I'm going to strongly disagree. I mean, yes. No, wait. All right, let me qualify it. I'm going to disagree in one regard. Obviously, linebackers want to be recruited by the linebacker coach. But there are many programs, and there have been many times over the course of Miami Hurricanes' greatness that the coaching staff recruited regional areas and not by position. And I think back to Curtis Johnson going and getting Ed Reed out of Louisiana. You could just go on and on and on. I don't think that there has to be an absolute that just because Stephen Field's the tight ends coach, that he can't help out and recruiting at other positions and go on the road and talk to kids. He's having a lot of effectiveness. I mean, he's shown it in the past. I mean, he's gone out to California. I know Keyshawn Smith is not busted out, but Stephen Field went out to California, recruited Keyshawn Smith, who's a wide receiver. I mean, like, it can be done. I don't see any issues. He's pretty much done with his recruiting other than maintenance on these 3 guys. Like, he'll talk to these 3 guys constantly, but I want to see him get a chance to impact the class in other areas.
Listen, what you say is a good soundbite, but in reality, just knowing what recruits want.
It's not a soundbite. I'm not trying to create a soundbite.
Recruits on the defensive side of the ball are not coming to Miami because of Stephen Field. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. Stephen Field will be chasing me around Green Tree again. I know, Gary. But
you ran away from the first sumo wrestling match.
Recruits come to Miami for Mario Cristobal. Offensive recruits come to Miami for Josh Gaddis and their position coach. Defensive recruits come to Miami for development by their position coach/coaches. On the defensive line, they've got 3 of them, including Jason Taylor. At linebacker, poor Charlie Strong's on an island. They got 2 defensive backs coach, 3 defensive line coaches essentially, and Charlie Strong, who, I don't disagree with you. He needs help. That's the position.
He's been a head coach. He's had to recruit 50 guys at a time. He can handle 5 or 6, but he's not getting them. They're not coming for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm not going to speculate on that, but look, when you look at how recruiting is going at every position, you say linebacker, what's going on? And there's a reason for that. There's always a reason for what's happening. It's not happening in a vacuum. It's not happening in John Ruiz's basement where Gary lives. This is happening in real time for real reasons. And you keep seeing kids committing to Miami, highly interested in Miami, and we're looking at linebackers that are just backing off.
So why, man? Why
one of the kids' dads is best friends with Mario Cristobal, canceled an official visit to Miami. I mean,
why?
With Alex Mirabal's brother, best friends with Alex Mirabal's brother.
And he canceled, correct. That's the kid they thought they were going to get. So why?
Yeah, and it's listen, even if I knew the reasons, I probably couldn't say them publicly.
Well, but you just
said there's a disconnect. There's obviously a disconnect. There's a disconnect. That's what when recruiting goes south at a position, there's a disconnect between the recruit and either the position coach or the program. And certainly
how can there be a disconnect with Charlie Strong? I mean, he's got a great reputation as a defensive coach.
Listen, I think Charlie Strong is old school. And Charlie Strong has built bonds with recruits in the past by being honest. And I'm not sure that honesty is the best recipe at linebacker right now, because the program's a disaster at linebacker. And what do you tell a kid?
It's the greatest opportunity for linebackers in the United States of America. They should
I agree.
be pouring
You can tell a kid.
you.
You could tell a kid he can come in and play right away. But how do you convince? How do you convince a linebacker in a system that now is basically taking the onus off linebackers and putting it on 5 defensive backs in a game and a star hybrid linebacker who's not even really a linebacker? How do you convince anyone except a middle linebacker right now to come to Miami? And if he's telling kids the truth, there's really only one position you can recruit, and it's middle linebacker, because outside linebackers are being replaced by safeties. And the will linebacker is being replaced by a star hybrid safety. So what is Charlie Strong supposed to honestly tell a recruit? It's a difficult situation.
You're making an interesting point. So you're saying that, and we don't know this, I don't think. You could tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think we absolutely know this with absolute, but you're saying there's the possibility that schools are out there around the country who are recruiting these linebackers that Miami's trying to recruit are negative recruiting Miami by pointing out to them that the linebacker position doesn't get featured in Kevin Steele's defense.
I don't know if that's happening or not, but what I'm saying is if Charlie Strong's being honest with recruits and he has a history of being honest, it's difficult to be honest with anyone other than a middle linebacker in a Kevin Steele defense, because they're so dependent on defensive backs and these hybrid safeties that play linebacker that it's just a difficult situation for an honest coach to try and recruit players to his position. I don't know if that's the reason. I'm just speculating, but that might be part of it. Just this scheme is not linebacker heavy like it used to be, where it used to be the 4-3 and everything was funneled to those 3 linebackers, and you would have, in the past, you'd have 2 linebackers approaching 100 tackles or more, out of those 3. That's definitely not going to be the case in this defense.
Interesting. I think that's an interesting viewpoint. I didn't look at it that way, and but you're making so much sense.
I'm making sense. I always make sense, Gary Ferman.
I can't believe I'm sitting here saying
that's
that.
my new ringtone. My new ringtone. I'm taking a clip of you saying, "You're making sense," and that's my new ringtone when you call me. You're making sense. You're making sense.
Well, so often,
hello, Gary. Yes.
So often you don't make sense. So I'm giving you credit. I think you're making some sense there, and you might be onto something. We're gonna have to look more into that. But for whatever reason, linebackers not doing great, and I want to see Stephen Field help Charlie Strong recruit linebackers. How about that?
Great.
We'll see. If Mario's watching, he'll do it. I don't know if he's watching. I don't know if he might be on vacation, but if he could still tune into the show. And I know that when he wakes up at 3:30 in the morning every day, the first thing he does is look for Good Morning CaneSport. But no, in all seriousness, I think Stephen Field could help out at linebacker. I hope they give him a shot. All right, one other story that's on the website today. We catch up with 2024 wide receiver Chance Robinson from St. Thomas Aquinas. Another interesting story. Like I say, he's 2024. He's a 4-star already, a talented kid, and his offer to Miami has been reaffirmed off his performance at Legends Camp last weekend. And he doesn't have any favorites right now, isn't in any real rush. But I don't think there's any doubt, Matt, that Miami is going to be a factor in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the amazing part of this Chance Robinson story is Mario Cristobal visited him in the hospital. Oh, wait, no, that was yesterday's story. Chance Robinson is an outstanding national prospect from St. Thomas. You keep him home, period. It's that simple. If you got to visit him in the hospital, if you got to visit him in Finland, if he's going to visit Olaus Alinen, that's where you go. You do whatever you have to do to get kids like this to stay home. And Miami's made a great first impression with him, and they just have to keep on recruiting the heck out of these guys, man. It's nonstop. It's relentless. That's Mario Cristobal's middle name. Mario Relentless Cristobal, whatever. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, what you're seeing in 2023. Because think about it this way: they've only been on the job for 6 months, 7 months, depending on which assistant and Mario Cristobal. And a lot of the focus has gone really into identifying, first of all, 2023 kids that can help you, and then recruiting them. Wait till it really goes full throttle to 2024, 2025. You've seen a couple of 2026 kids already get offers. I mean, once this thing is actually moving along and rolling, and basically just going downhill with some steam, it's going to be crazy, because you're already sort of seeing what can be. Now it just has happen. I always say I want to see it. I still do want to see it. People who think I'm being too optimistic, I like what I'm seeing, but at the end of the day, you still got to show me, man. You still got to show me. You still got to have a decent enough season where you're not losing commitments, because this is what's happened in the past. Miami's gotten tons of great commits or good commits, depending on the coach. Season's terrible. Fans go crazy. Commits leave. And that can no longer be the mathematical formula of this program.
All right, that's going to do it for today. You guys get a little bonus show today because we've got a preview show for that Goats series with Roy Firestone that I think you'll like. It's an entertaining preview show, so make sure you go watch that now that you're done with Good Morning CaneSport, and let us know on the message boards what you think of the new series that's coming up. So for Matt Shodell and Gary Ferman, we thank you for starting your day with us as always, and we'll see you tomorrow, everybody.